How to start sobriety? That's a good question because we do have a people which they first time into the sobriety. If we talk in perspective of uh, wanted to stop drinking alcohol, so if we have a people who trying to stop first time, they are actually people which they in disadvantage. First of all, might be the case that you've been already in a position when you're feeling tired and all the alcohol is actually attacking your life and you're not feeling well with it. You sick of tired, being sick of tired that you're drinking, you want to stop drinking, or maybe you have a situation that your family is pushing you towards that you're having some problem. You kind of you're feeling deep inside of you that you're fighting with something and you just can't win. You don't know what to do, you don't know where to turn. And we do have as well something like kind of some people, they have something like DIY mode. I can do it myself, right? Is it right, is it bad? I would say what I was always saying in perspective of sobriety: there's no such thing like wrong, there's no such thing like right, because that is definitely your personal journey. Okay, so whatever working for others might not work for you, whatever work for you might not work for others, and so on and so on. But the thing is, when you start something first, you have kind of a lack of knowledge, so you don't know what to expect. It takes you a bit longer. There is a chance to stop drinking yourself, okay, without any help. To do that, there is something you could do. There's many tools, people trying, people, kind of testing it. There is something which is called halt, all right? That's the thing you can try, I would say, yourself. There is some kind of a things as well that people are going through some kind of a 10 typical questions to see if you're actually matching answers yes for them questions. So that means you have a problem, you have to fight with something, because definitely that might be indication that you are prone towards alcoholism, so you have alcohol addiction going on. But that's the one thing. But the second thing is, if you try to do something yourself, you can use that kind of a tool which is called halt. And what we're going to do today, we're going to have a quick look-see on it, what it is, how to understand it, what you can do with this. And I'm definitely not going to be telling you, I'm not going to be coming up right now with some kind of a stocks telling you like, you should definitely do that. This is like 96%, so, the failure rate is very low, the successful rate. No, 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 no. All that is just gibberish. I hate when people do that. Because as I said already, anything you do in your life in terms of sobriety, it's personal journey, okay? You can have close look onto something, you can have close trying something or whatever you want to call it, and then you see if it's working or if it's not working for you. But well, to be fair, you've got nothing to lose if you're gonna look into something and get the knowledge on something, because maybe if you're not gonna use everything from it, maybe something will be valuable for you and it will get you to the place where you want to be, which is sobriety. H is standing for the word hungry. We're talking about the food right now. I mean, when you are in your alcoholic journeys, when you're drinking, very people, they have a poor diet, or they actually not eating much. And you kind of when you're gonna look back into your days when you've been drinking or when you're drinking, and like typically, let's say it's on a weekend, when you get in, for instance, on the drinks, you don't eat much, you know and you can actually sometimes the people are going actually drinking all day long and they're not eating much. Well, the reason why is because you have some nutrients in the alcohol itself. You can find some carbohydrates in there, you can find some protein in there. Well, they are some kind of a crappy, caloric intake ways, nutrients in it. But the thing is, that will create a kind of a situation that you don't eat. Now, the reason why, for instance, you be able to go on the booze all day long and you're not actually eating is just one. Within the beer or whatever drink you have in it, there's not much fiber. That's something which is supposed to fill up your stomach, so create a situation that you don't feel hunger, right? So here's the thing. when you are the same as with the food, any bad food which does not fiber within, you can keep consuming it, and you never feel, that you're full, and you keep going, keep going, keep going, but unfortunately, calories are stacking up on it. So here's the thing where when you go in on that alcohol, you don't eat. So in perspective of doing the food wise, if you're trying your sobriety and you're trying to fight anything, if you have, let's say, craving going for the alcohol, so instead of going for the drink, you're going for the food, okay? But we're not talking about right now about, a substitution way in terms of, okay, so I don't drink right now, so I'm gonna start eating like a pig. That's not the case. It's just only that you're doing some food, so you're checking up if this is actually more hunger in terms of not going for the alcohol. But the thing is, the same as you see, like sometimes you've been coming back from work, and let's say that you've been hungry, but you see there is a beer in the fridge, so you grab one beer, two beer, three beer, four beers, you keep going up like that, and you're missing the meal. There you go. That's only one of the things. So sometimes when you probably you've been in that kind of a situation, like you had a full stomach of the dinner done, and you try to drink right away afterwards. There's not much space, right? So that food becomes like a filler for your tummy, for your belly, so you don't grab that alcohol from that perspective. So that's one of the things. Hunger, and then that that the hunger being kind of a closed up by alcohol is not a good idea, because on top of that, of course, you got some nutrients in it, and then you have ethanol, and then everything start working different ways, because now you have the alcohol, first of all, being taken as a priority by your body, so it needs to be get rid of. So you're not actually, all the calories you ate actually going on site, so your body doesn't touch that, because it has to, remove the toxin first, and all that vicious circle is actually kind of a closing up. So you can see how that goes. I'm sure that you're gonna look back in the past, and you will look in your days when, for instance, specifically on the weekend, let's say you've been busy doing something around the house, you've been going beer after beer, beer after beer. Someone offered you dinner, you actually refused it because it's like, I don't want to eat dinner. I mean, I kind of feel I'm okay, so I'm grabbing another drink and another drink and another drink, and that could even go to the moment that you're gonna be going up, like up to the late to the night like this. Well, you're waking up on the next day, you know how it feels, you know how it happens. We don't have to actually assess the hangovers, because we know exactly how they work. The letter A will stay for angry. Now, what we're talking about, emotions right now, because if you look at the human beings, we just bunch of emotions, right? And we react to something. Something happens to us, and okay, everyone is wired different way. There's some people they cope bit better with stress. There's some people they cope well, not kind of a good with stress. So they're trying to find a relief. If we look on, our lives these days is so stressful. I mean, our jobs, for instance, they taking over pretty much most of our day. We going quickly somewhere. You're rushing as a school runs, or maybe you got a school run before the work. Then you go to work. Then you leave your kids if after classes or whatever that is, you coming back later, then you're thinking about some kind of a dinner, this, that. So it's like that 24 hours taken over by your sleep, which is probably not much as well. From time to time, I could say very often they go in like very much not on a good rest, rate. But the thing is, you are so busy, and everywhere, everything, you just keep constantly looking on the time. I need to be there, I need to be this, I need to be doing that. So you kind of don't have that time to relax yourself, which is these days, I reckon, is more valuable than a gold. So that creates all that stress, okay? And them emotions as well, they need to be kind of released somewhere. So you're being constantly nervous, constantly angry, then you're looking for something. Well, the quickest relief, which we've been always looking for, was the alcohol, wasn't it? I mean, even if you look from perspective, I'm finishing, I had a hard day, I deserved one, right? Or I had a hard week, I deserved one. Or I did something great around the house, I need to celebrate that. It's not always the bad emotions which they need to be kind of relieved by the alcohol. That is always as well them good emotions, I celebrate something. So you see how the alcohol is going to be kind of and it is invited in your life, on a daily activities. So something which used to, years and back was just only used maybe from time to time, now it becomes like night and day. It's everywhere, right? You're going for the party, you celebrate, there's alcohol there. You have to drink, there's a peer pressure. You come into work, you're tired, you're coming home, it's like, it's like you're angry, you got these emotions, there's like the stress, which been kind of a transferred from one day to another. So until something, you're thinking is gonna finish, then finally it's gonna be over, but there's another thing piling on top of that, on and on and on. Now, the problem is, once you're gonna take alcohol away, you don't have that relief thing. Okay, you don't have that tool which you've been using so far, and kind of on the beginning, maybe you're thinking it's working for you, but then later on it start taking toll on you, so it's worse and worse and worse, right? So now I have two problems. One problem is these emotions, I need to get rid of it, and now I got the thing I was using to relieve it, but it doesn't work because it start creating the problem itself on its own. So there is a double stress going on right now. I mean, I can't handle my drinking. Now I got some stuff around me, and it kind of you know tears and wears you in your life. Unfortunately, that's how it goes. So now you're trying to take away something which is supposed to give you relief, and it becomes even more stressful now because I need to find a way to get rid of all these bits. But unfortunately, I need to find something else, and maybe I don't even have a time because not everyone has a time to hit the gym, right? Let's face it. It's like these days, it's like that gym's supposed to be the fix for everything. What if I'm 55 years old and I got some aches and pains or some health conditions that I can't even deal with this? Okay, in perspective to going to the gym, or maybe there is a time issue. You know, my life is so much filled up with everything that I cannot find even half an hour for myself. Well, so far I had just only that beer so you can escape. Like, you put your kids to sleep in perspective that, bedtime, everything's great. Now you got your 5 minutes for yourself. So you try to, you're not going to sleep well because you want to spend some time for yourself. So you're trying that you're going to negotiate maybe an hour or two. So you start drinking. That time is great, but now I'm more in stress because I cannot drink too much because now I have to be ready for the next day because I cannot do the failure because let's say I need to drive the car, da di da di da di da. This ongoing stuff, and that's one of the things which is difficult as well, right? And not many people talks about this, unfortunately. And then finding there is some kind of a tools, there's some kind of a techniques you can use to release your stress, but until you're gonna find something, it's gonna take some time. Okay, that's the difficult one as well. It's gonna take some time because let's say so far you've been using one thing and technically, well, whatever you've been thinking was working for you, now it doesn't work, and now I need to find something. So I need again time because I need to do that research. What will be working for me? So it's gonna be good to look in some kind of a stress relieving techniques and things like that because happiness it's cool. You're happy, you just go and you don't have to drink every time when you're happy, but majority cases people are trying to relieve the bad angry emotions using something that's supposed to give me some kind of a you know stressful go away problems thingies, and so far we've been using alcohol, but now we will have to use something else. Okay, but that takes time as well. But that's one of the things which we have to take in perspective. That's why we are kind of before we jump on anything, we have to do our little homework and research and see and try things. Okay, because one of the important things, the time, well, time sometimes is against us. Sometimes time will work for us, but everything will need that time to get to that sweet spot we're looking for. L stands for the letter lonely. Now, this is another one which is gonna be a little bit toughy for some of us because if you have people around you, okay, then maybe you can get on some kind of a busy mode. But then we have people which they don't have nobody, okay, and they by themselves. And it could be again the situation like, okay, fair enough, my life is so busy. Well, until like at work and between the people, around the people, then it's gonna be kind of a safety net. But then you're going home Now, if you have a family, you can put yourself in the busyness of being around the house. Well, let's say so far you've been drinking, so you did not give it two pennies about whatever was happening around, because thinking just being somewhere in a distance and drinking, and it was considered as a family being time because you're around the kids, so you there, but you're actually not there because you're drinking. But you know but I'm there, right? I'm there in that perspective. We're not going to be judging people because that's not the case. I mean, the alcohol does the weird things to us. We allow the alcohol into our life and create weird things. Later, when we get enough from the alcohol, we start seeing things different way, and we see that the values we've been putting on one thing did not have much value for others, and all that shifting is one thing. But um, long story short, anyone who's got someone around them, it's great. But we have a people as well which they actually lonely, you know. So being busy, being around the people is fine, but then you going home and you stay by yourself, okay? And let's say that drinking was actually happening with at the time when you've been by yourself. People are saying that, make sure you're not lonely, make sure you go out, make sure. Well, we got some people which they have a different characteristics of the person, right? There's someone who's gonna be, introverted, and it doesn't like crowds. It doesn't like go to the people. So you're staying by yourself. You actually have to then learn how to be within yourself, because here's the one thing. Hear me out. You're not gonna be able to be around the people 24/7. It might be the case that you're gonna be within yourself. You know, imagine this. Even if you have plenty people around you, that is not gonna give you some kind of a successful rate of happening right. Because look, let's say you have some family gatherings, okay, people coming to you, you know as I was always saying, just because you don't drink, that doesn't mean that the people around you, they're gonna stop drinking. So let's say you've got someone who drinks around, let's say your partner is drinking. You're doing your sobriety, but the partner doesn't want to do it, right? Happens. And then it's a free choice. You can't force nobody to nothing. So here's the thing. They going out, you staying by yourself at home, okay? And let's say there is a situation, there's something in the fridge, and you open in the fridge because you want to eat something. Let's say you use that letter H for hungry, so you go into the fridge, you want to make yourself a food, and then you open the fridge, and there he is. There he is, some beer, laughing to you and craving you and showing you, I'm there, I'm there, I'm there. That's a test. That's the biggest test. And definitely when you're by yourself, because you're gonna have them things, you can easily crack, you can drink this quickly, no one's gonna see. Maybe you'll replace one, maybe they had something in the fridge and they had a little bit more in a cellar on the basement, or they kept something, the few they had being cooling up for the party for the evening, and then now you're sneaking up on it, you getting that quickly, you replace quickly, no one will know nothing, you will quickly drink that. Then you will use some kind of quick techniques. We know how to do that, right? When you try to hide something and no one knows that you've been drinking, something to get rid of the smell, something to do this, something to do that. There you go. That lonely thing, unfortunately, you could be even around the house full of people, but you still will be lonely, because you're gonna be doing your sobriety and the others, they're not gonna be actually in it. Okay. So there's like kind of a two lonely ways of doing. How to deal with this? That's the very difficult one. This is again like trying to get your mind occupied, to get yourself away from cravings, from triggers. But it's very difficult and it takes time, unfortunately. It does takes time, you know. So that's one of the things people don't look at it. I mean, it's easy to say to people, go out, don't stay at home. But eventually you will have time that you are by yourself, and anything you try, anything you do in it, is you need to start accepting yourself. I would say the acceptance of your sobriety will be the thing which is supposed to help you on your loneliness, because eventually that sobriety, that not drinking, will supposed to become your second skin. Well, when that's gonna happen, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it could be like you could use one of the techniques. It's a very good one, for instance. Let's say that you by yourself at home. You don't need to go to see people, but let's say you're going out somewhere. Get yourself some kind of a walk. get some fresh air, you know, hold and pause on that trigger or craving for that alcohol. Just wait it out a bit. I promise you, you're gonna get stronger at some point, but everyone's time is different. But the thing is, it's better to do something than do nothing in that perspective. So that loneliness will be attacking you from time to time. But again, you might be even in a case like you're thinking lonely, lonely, lonely. You go to the, you will go somewhere to some party. It's like, family gathering or something like that. You're going to have everybody drinking, but you're not drinking. Kind of feel like an outcast or something. You're thinking, if you would be looking on the people around you, but thinking something wrong with me. Everyone is drinking. I'm not drinking. What's going on? But to be true, if you want to save yourself, if you want to be in that sobriety, the course, the path, the road you've chosen, these are the things you're going to be fighting with. These are the things you're going to be trying to understand yourself. Justification does help, because so far people been you justify your drinking. So when you justify your drinking, you're justifying, right? Maybe the proper word for it. Now you're justifying now not to drink. But that takes time. And I get that. It is important. It's important to understand that. That's why the failures are coming up on the things 1 and 2. Not everything works exactly what's supposed to work, because you kind of unraveling, you're unleashing something you never seen it. But the loneliness is not that straightforward with like everyone thinks about it. The letter T stands for tired. Okay, so yeah, the fatigue, the sleep, the rest. I would put it this way. I mean, we forget about one important thing in our lives, that the rest, it's not a luxury. The rest itself is a necessity. I mean, that is another thing which might take you into drinking, because you're constantly tired. Tired, so automatically that will create you that you're angry. When you're tired, you're angry, you can't concentrate. Then everything was so difficult, so it's so stressful. So this is again coming up back to your wrong emotions, overeating. That's all that stuff. I don't want to go to that technical terms of it, everything which was proven by scientists or not, based on sleep modes and things like that. But unfortunately, the more tired you will feel, the more relief you'll be looking for. And so far, you learn it that the alcohol was giving me that kind of a relief. So we start using the alcohol on anything, right? It becomes like kind of a remedy to any of your problems, unfortunately. So making sure that you're not drinking, you're keeping yourself away from drinking. When you're fresh, right? If you have a chance, I understand that, because we have a busy lives, right? But anywhere that you see that you have a chance to to extend that pillow time, to give yourself a chance to to boost your sleep, even for half an hour. If that means you will sacrifice some screening time on the phone, screen time on the phone, you sacrifice watching some your perfect story, telly-wise, whatever that is. Use that. It really, really definitely helps. Now when you wake up on the next day kind of a fresher, and more strong strength comes to it, your mornings are looking a little bit better. And anything you do, like using even them tools that hold and stuff, it's just like it gives you more freshness, more sense, more clarity. You get more clarity even from sleeping, from sleep time, from sleeping better, because the longer you will sleep, then more your REM it gets into kick. So you're actually more fresh. That's one of the things we don't look at as well. I mean, of course, you would like to push your, life, do things, or someone's gonna tell you, 6 hours is enough. 6 hours is enough. I mean, if you can't sleep 6 hours, why don't you just make sure you sleep faster? What kind of a rubbish and garbage is that? I mean, you can't just tell your body you sleep faster. So it doesn't work that way. That might work for someone who maybe in 20s, but I wouldn't even recommend that, because everyone gets tired, so it doesn't really matter what age you are. But to be fair, the proper sleep is a proper sleep. So maybe there is a chance that you can actually plan your sleep. I know it sounds funny, right? I mean, you're already planning things in your life, but now, planning that sleeping, it's maybe there's something you look at to it as well. Maybe you can sleep, maybe you can go to sleep 15 minutes earlier than you usually go. Maybe there's a chance that you can wake up 15 minutes later. I don't know. I mean, that would be like something that you can look directly individually in your life and in your schedule, so that could help you with anything. But this is one of the things as well, because the tiredness will create the bad emotions, angry, you don't want to this, you don't want to that, so you definitely will be grabbing, let's say, the bottle, because you're going to be thinking that I need some relief. I need, again, going back to thinking, I need something which will relieve me, something which will take away my stress, my tiredness. So if I have that little dopamine jump in my head because I will have something, alcoholic, because so far was working for me, so I will go back to whatever is working for me. But unfortunately, we know that on the end, that kind of whatever works for me is actually going against me, unfortunately. So this whole tool, right, you can use as a startup to see if actually will work for you. Okay, what that does, it keeps you a little bit at check. So you becoming, like, I would say, the kind of a police force. Okay, so you checking yourself up. You are the good idea is as well, if you're gonna take yourself some kind of a notes about your day. Okay, so you will see certain situations you've been at. Okay, how did you react it? What was taking you actually into the thought of drinking? Okay, so these are the area when you can try to avoid it, so you're keeping yourself away from it, until you will understand why that happens. Because, as I said, sobriety is pretty much individual journey. There's some certain things we all do the same, but later on, we go into our own way of doing stuff because it works for us. I'll put an example of the making the driving license. Okay, so when you have instructor shows you everything exactly how things are working, so you know how to negotiate the turns, shift the gears, do all the stuff. It drives, the driving limits, how fast you can go on this road and that road, and what you're supposed to look at, all the pedestrians, the people around, cyclists, da 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 da, and then all that stuff. But once you pass the test, when you pass the test, so you got a certain knowledge, and that instructor tells you that I am confirming that this person is, driving safely enough so he can start drive on his own. But then when you pass the test and you start driving on your own, then you are basically speaking, creating your own style of driving. Okay, so the same is exactly with your sobriety. You've got some kind of a things, tools, knowledge about something, but preferably later you're gonna be using them in your own disposal, or you're not gonna be using, but a certain stuff has to be done to be in certain places, right? So here, the same is like with speed limits, right? If you're gonna be going over it, you're gonna be fine, or they're gonna take away your driving license. Well, in sobriety, if you're gonna start doing something which you're not supposed to do, then you're gonna be going back to drinking, unfortunately. So that's pretty much, I would say, the way how I see things. Okay, so I would say that this is my kind of a way of thinking and understanding things. You got the tools, you know how to use the tools. If you use them in a certain way, it's gonna be working um, in the way you're looking for. But the thing is, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you got to do it yourself. You got to do it yourself. You got to test it. You got to try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, moving on. Maybe there is the case that you can take something. You don't have to use everything from Holt. Maybe maybe one or two things will work for you. Maybe just one will be okay with you, and you will deal with them other problems in a different way. It's fine. It's okay. I've been always saying that I don't like people which they saying that this stuff you have to do only this stuff, only that way you're gonna get there. No, 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 no. That's not true. Sobriety is a private, personal journey. Okay, and as long as it keeps you away from the drinking, and you actually don't have to fight against yourself anymore, so you understand yourself, you're finding that kind of a peace within you that you can easily keep yourself away from it. I wish everyone who wants to jump on sobriety, so you're gonna have a situation that you will go, in between the alcohol aisle in a shop when you're doing your groceries, and you will feel nothing, nothing at all, no connection, nothing. You will just pass by like empty walls, like you kind of don't see anything which is on a shelf stacked up. That's all I would like to wish you. Right, so far that'll be all for today. I wish you sober evening, sober day, sober week, sober month, sober year, and hopefully the rest of your life sober. I'll catch you later. Take care of yourself.